Hello, everybody. Hi, I'm Dr. Eddie Capparucci, and thank you once again for being here for our podcast of Getting to the Other Side. Today is a topic that I will tell you I've done a lot of searching to see who has talked about this before and who has written about it, who has done webinars, podcasts. I have found nothing, which really troubled me. It bothered me greatly that nothing been done about this topic. And then also came to realize, well, the reason it hasn't been talked about most likely is because it's very controversial. So I entitled it to the sense of is he healing? But really what we could call it is why are you not healing? Okay, so let me set the stage here for you. Today's webinar, what we're doing, we're talking to people who you've been in D-Day. D-Day happened at least 2 years ago, okay? Two, the person who was betrayed, and I'm gonna say male, okay, because I work with men, but I know females do it too. Those who have betrayed, they've been doing their work and changes can be seen in them. Three, the woman who's been betrayed is still struggling a great deal. Okay, those are the three things. Been at least 2 years since D-Day, the betrayer doing work, and we can see some changes. And three, those who have been betrayed are still struggling. This program is not about, hey, ladies, give the guy a break. That is not what this is. What this is about is, don't you think it's time to reclaim your life? That's what it's about. So let me start with this. I've worked with those who have been betrayed. I did that for about 5 years. I worked with women who've been betrayed. My wife now works with that problem. In fact, my wife, we were hoping to get her on here today, that we we're going to do it together. It just didn't work out from a logistic standpoint. She's been doing that for the past 5 years. I understand. Betrayal can flip your world. It does flip your world upside down. One day life seems to be fine, and then you're drowning in this tar pit. It's everything shattered, and the whole thing to keep going through your head is, how do I pick up the pieces? How do I get through this? And to put it very simply, it's hell. You're living in hell here on earth. And let me say that I am very sorry for the pain that you are experiencing. I am. I have a great amount of empathy. And in fact, my clients, and again, I work with men, my clients will tell you, they'll say, you know what? Eddie's loyalty and allegiance is to my wife and not me. And that is because I will never, never encourage reconciliation unless I feel that this man, that his risk of acting out again is low. I just won't do it. I do not want to see you go through more pain. I don't want to see you go through more suffering. And that might be a very different approach than many other counselors take, but hey, that's the way I feel. I'm sorry. And my guys understand that, and they don't object to it. I think they actually like the fact that I protect their wives. And that's what I'm trying to get them to do, the same thing, protect your wife. Um, as we know, betrayal can last anywhere, and we're talking about betrayal trauma, can last anywhere from 18 months to sometimes 3 years. And in some cases, it goes longer. And that's what we're really talking about here. We're talking 2 years and out. Because in some cases, people who may have suffered other betrayals or other traumas in their life, they may struggle more, because what has happened is that this trauma that now been inflicted, they start to blend together. And what I did when I worked with women, and my wife does now, is we help them to pull those two things apart. Try to pull apart the parts of the trauma from the past from what has gone on here. Not always an easy process, but what it needs to be done. So what is it that got me talking today about this? Well, this is what Terry and I see. In approximately, and this is a kind of a guesstimate, 2 out of every 10 cases that we work with, we see that those who've been betrayed just cannot find closure. They can't find closure. The pain to them, the pain seems like it will not diminish. And the comment that we hear most often is, I don't know how to work through this. You can't see a conclusion. You can't see the answer, the solution. And that's a horrible place to be in. It's horrible because what it is, one, you're always in this sense of fear. And with that sense of fear, then there's also this idea where you're trying to control things. Because what are you trying to control it? You're not trying to, I want to control him. No, you're trying to control from yourself getting hurt again. So what you do is you actually do sometimes control the recovery process and what's going on with them. You try to control his actions and what he's doing. And again, fully understand it. We understand. It is about survival. It is about your survival. I do not want to get hurt again. However, it is a mentally and emotionally and physically exhausting. And I know you're asking, but if I don't do this, then how do I know he's not going to go back to his old behavior? You don't. You don't. And we'll talk about that later. Okay. What he does is his responsibility. It's not yours. That is a very important thing for you to remember. Very important thing to remember. So let's talk a little bit about this idea of reclaiming your life and your marriage. But notice I said life first, because it is about your life, reclaiming your life, and then the marriage, if it is what you want to reclaim. Now, I'm sure you're sitting here and saying, I can't wait to hear this. This is, going to be, something new. But currently, right now, you feel that you really have no control over getting through all of this. That is a lie. That is an absolute lie, because you have more control than you believe. Okay, number one. What happens sometimes when a person gets caught in this trauma pattern, okay, it seems like it's just this endless loop goes around and around and around. And where you have control that you're not aware of is you have control to break that loop. You have it. And but I'm not going to kid you, okay? It takes work to break that loop, but it takes the right kind of work. And that work is not continuously sitting and watching endless hours of recovery podcasts like such this one. It's not about reading more recovery books. That's not where you're going to find your answer. You're going to find your answer because let me tell you, you've done all the research, you know all the stuff that's out there, but yet you're still not getting better. Because it's not about still finding that. There's no gold, there's no nugget out there that you're going to find that's going to help you. What's going to be is you learn to control your amygdala and you develop a new outlook in life. So let me talk to you a little bit about that, okay? Trauma, as you well know, creates anxiety, depression, panic attacks, a sense of being out of control. And that is all. And for you who've been here before, you've heard me talk about this. It is about the brain chemistry and what's going on. Okay. Rational thinking done here. Prefrontal cortex. Okay. Emotional thinking done back here, the limbic system. And in the limbic system, there's called the amygdala, two little almond-shaped things that are back there. And they serve as a thermostat that regulate your emotional pain and your emotional pleasure. Well, guess what? When you suffer through trauma, your thermostat breaks and you can't regulate that emotional pain. It becomes so intense. And when that happens and it reaches a level that is so high, it shuts down the prefrontal cortex. So what's happened? There's no rational thinking going on. It's all emotionally charged thinking, and you feel like you're out of control because your brain is out of control. The amygdala has hijacked the brain. That is what's gone on. And therefore, part of what you need to do to be able to reclaim your life is you have to learn to be able to restore the calm thinking. And this is where you have control. You could control that amygdala. But see, we don't do it because we just let it run amok. It happens, I get in that mood and I just go, versus one thing, self-soothing. Because if you're waiting for your husband to soothe you, it's not going to happen, because he's going to be sitting there trying to rationalize with you. Remember, the rational part of the brain is not working. Okay, that is not what's going to happen. And that's why I teach my men how to be empathetic, how to be validating. I understand. I see where you're at. What can I do to help you? You know, and I tell them, do not explain. There's no explaining going on here at this time. So for you, it's about how do you self-soothe? And when you start to feel those emotions escalating, first and foremost, use all your senses. You have to use all of your senses to bring this sense of calm within you. So therefore, it is starting in that moment to be able to focus on the things around you. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you smelling? What is it that you can touch? And therefore, if you like soft thing, go get a soft cloth or blanket that you have around, the throw blanket, and just grab it and hold on to it while you're in the midst of that moment, that maybe you could feel that softness that starts to help you calm down. If you like smelling things, make sure that you have those a candle that has that flavor aroma around you. If it's music you want to listen to, go put it in. But see, you have to stop the amygdala. And the way you do it is say, no, I am not going to stay here in the moment, and grab hold of your senses, the five senses, maybe not taste, but everything else before, and to be able to find something to calm the amygdala down so I can now be more rational. And when you're rational, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be sharing your emotions about the depth of your pain and the hurt versus rage. And I'm not blaming you for the rage. If what happens, you know? When the amygdala takes over, it's like a brain is broken. It's like broken. But when it takes over, you do, if you're aware of it and you say, okay, I am not able to regulate my mood. I must regulate my mood. Why? Why must you regulate your mood? So that you take back your life. And you're not, again, hindered by what the brain is trying to do. It is possible. It takes effort. It takes time to do that. Breathing techniques. After you start to calm down, just sit there and breathe and relax. Start to move your mind away from the trigger that was activating you and going on that. You don't have to be held captive to the amygdala. But as I said, it takes time, it takes practice to learn to self-regulate. But see, the key is you understand now what you have to do. I have to self-regulate. I can't just let the amygdala run wild. And what's going to happen at that point, as you get through that, is you are now going to be empowered. You're empowered. You're going to be stronger because you're going to know I can take control of my emotions and my thoughts. So that's something, that's number one. Number two is that this plays into something that's called, we call it locus of control. Okay. Fancy name that people came up with from the psychology world, locus of control. Okay. The betrayed spouse, right, who struggle to heal also struggle with the concept of locus of control. So what is that? Okay, people who have an internal, there's two types of locus of control. There's internal and there's external. Those who have an internal locus of control, they believe they are responsible for their own success, their well-being, their happiness, all of it. They feel I'm responsible. Right? Internal locus of control. Those who have an external locus of control believe that it is external forces such as faith that determine their outcome. Right? Now, there's no doubt that part of the reason that you're in this tar pit is because of outside factors. Okay, your immature mate, okay, which was the external locus of control. Okay, that's you had no control over that. That's what happened. But today is different. Today, are you going to continue to say, well, it's his trauma, it's what he's done to me, it's the hurt and the pain? Then that means you're still living in the external locus of control mindset. I have no responsibility. I have no control. I am just stuck. Versus, no, you know what? I can have an internal locus of control. If I go that route, okay, I don't stay a victim. I know many of you are probably cringing right now. Did he just call me a victim? I told you this was not going to be an easy show. Okay, I told you. It's not. But I'm also not going to sugarcoat things. I'm not going to do that either. Because I told you my heart breaks. My heart breaks, Terry's heart breaks for you and the suffering that you're going through. And we need to open your eyes. We need you to see what is true. So you take back the internal locus of control. And that means you say, I am the one who will determine my destiny, not my spouse and not my trauma. I will determine it. I will determine the life I'm going to live from now on, moving forward. That choice is yours, and it is solely yours. And I know right now at the moment, you may be looking and thinking, saying, but you really don't understand. This thing is so powerful. It's like beyond, I know. That's what you feel. That's what you feel. But what is real? Reality is, guess what? You can make different choices. You do have more control than you think over your emotions and your thoughts. We'll move on to the next aspect. This is something that really just troubled Terry and I so much. And when we see how those who have been betrayed continue to allow others to steal their joy. You know, and what I mean by that is, you know, let's say, well, I'll give you an example. I'll give you a client example. You know, we had a client that Terry was working with. I was working with her husband, and she loves the water. She loved being out on their boat It is just so peaceful for her. Well, he took a woman on the boat. And for her, then it became, want nothing to do with that boat. I want nothing to do with that water. I want nothing to do with any of that. And as Terry worked with her, okay, and she said to her, said to the woman, she goes, well, you know what? If you stay where you are with that mindset, who loses? And she goes, I do. Yeah, what do you lose? Well, I lose something that I really enjoyed, something I got a lot of, happiness out of. Yeah, absolutely. So haven't they taken enough from you? How have they not taken enough? Do they have to take everything from you? Do you have to continue to suffer this way? Like, no, I can't drive to that part of town because I know there's that hotel that's over there, which is a building, and that's a boat. Those are things, those are objects. Yes, I understand they represent triggers, but then again, we go back to the external or the internal locus of control. Do you want your life back? Or do you want to just stay there, stuck? Take back what you have lost. Take it back. Well, I'll continue with that story. That client, she said, you know what? You are right. You are right. And she went back out there. She went back out there by herself first time and went on that boat and just sat on the boat. Just sat on the boat, walked around the boat, sat there, and then I realized, said, you know what? It's just a boat. It's just a boat. And you know what? I really love this boat. I love it. And they go on the boat all the time. They're back out there on the water, and she's enjoying it. And I know she has thanked Terry a dozen times for giving her back something that someone took from her. You have to look at that and say, you know what? I don't want people taking things from me anymore. I want to take my life back. We're going to continue. Okay. It's about loving yourself the way God loves you. Now, this is an absolute game changer, okay? Because numerous studies have demonstrated that positive thinking can lead to trauma healing. Now, think about it. We're in trauma. We're not really thinking very much about positive things. But in actuality, if we start to change and shift that mindset, we can be able to do this. Think about the things that you are grateful for. Heard yesterday somebody talking about this, and they said, yeah, I'm grateful I got 4 tires on my car. I said, I never thought about that, but that probably works pretty good, but it's something that you need to practice every day. And I'll talk about several times during the day. So what you do is you sit there and just write down 5, not 10, 5 positive statements, such as, I am strong, I'm smart, I'm lovable, I'm worthy, I am the princess of a king, of the king. I am the princess of the king. You write down, you can write down whatever you want. You write down yours, whatever they are, those 5, and you memorize them, and you keep telling yourself day after day after day, several times a day. And after a while, what happens is you will learn to believe them, which will then empower you even more. But you know what? We don't need scientific studies to tell us that this works, because I could just go to scripture, because again, God has told us most of what's going to work well for our life. And there it said, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Philippians 4:8, part of the 4:8 principle. It's a great book. You should get it. It's a really good book, 4:8 principle. Scripture also tells us that think about heavenly things. Think about, what's the world above versus what is here, what is to come. I truly believe for those who have suffered major injustices in this world, that God has a special place for them in heaven. I believe that in my heart. You have to remember, what I'm talking about here is not a magic pill. It takes time, it takes work. And usually after about 30 days, we start to see the result of this. All of this is work. It becomes you saying, I'm going to take a new attitude. I'm going to take a new mindset. So now we'll continue. This is going to be a hard one. Okay? Tough one. Catch him doing something good. Okay, Tammy, how many people just fell off right now? Did we lose a lot of people? You're still with him, so I would assume you want to be married to him, or you're seeking just to spend the rest of life punishing him. I don't really. I think so. What I think you really need to do is kind of ask yourself the question: what do I want? And if the answer is I want to be married to him, and you think he has been doing the work, remember that's key here. He's been doing the work. You've seen change. Then I would ask you to please prayerfully consider some of the following. The first one is acknowledge that he's doing the work. Okay. Do a comparison to see if he's still that same man who hurt you, the man who he was versus hopefully the man he is. And hopefully your answer will be no, he's not, he's different. Ask yourself, how am I talking to him? If a man keeps hearing about how bad he is, he's going to lose motivation. He's going to be withdrawing. He's going to be pulling away. Find things to praise. Find things. I don't care what, hey, thank you for taking a shower today. Okay? I mean, whatever it may be. I don't care. But praise what you see is good. Just start out slow. Start out slow and kind of work your way into all of this. Find things that you can enjoy together and engage in those sorts of activities so that maybe you get a sense that, oh, yes, he not only is he different, but yes, he's safe. And if there are things that you're still worried about, that you think, I don't know how I can implement this, then please go seek a certified couples counselor who deals with this. Seek them out and let them show you how you can reconcile with that. So finally, I have one last category to cover, and that is this need to forgive. First and foremost, though, forgive for yourself. Forgive so that you can bring a sense of peace into your life, that you can let that just go. You can let it go. Now, forgiveness is not forgetting. We don't want to be putting blinders up. Okay. Forgiving is not one and done. You might have to forgive every day. I don't know. Okay. But again, we forgive so that for ourselves, not for the other, so that we can have a heart that is freed of the burden. And forgiveness also doesn't mean you won't be triggered. You will be triggered. But if you start learning how to control that amygdala and you do the self-soothing, what happens then with those triggers, it is more along the lines of a sense of sadness and remorse that you then can go and share and talk about. Today's not been a good day. It's been hard. So I thought about it. And hopefully this new guy is there to be empathetic and to be validating for you. The bottom line is you are responsible for your own happiness. And you can't allow someone to continue to steal it from you. There's a guy, his name was Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl was a psychologist, and he was a Jew, and lived back in, Germany, back in World War II. Viktor Frankl found himself in a concentration camp, and he was around, as you know, disease and death and dying and torture and the most degrading types of circumstances that anyone could ever experience. Viktor Frankl decided, they've taken everything from me. They've stolen everything from me. But there's one thing they can't take from me, and that is my attitude toward life. And that thought that he had, what he did was those men in his barrack that he was with, he communicated that to them. That despite whatever they do, you know what? We can look to the fact that, we are still men. Okay? We still have our own lives. We still have our own dreams. We still have our own success that we want to one day hopefully achieve. They can't take those away from us. They can't take any of that away from us. Every man who is in his barrack survived that concentration camp. Every man. While in others, they're dying left and right. He wrote a book. He wrote a book called, he wrote several, but one was Man's Search for Meaning. And it is about how you reclaim your life, how you reclaim your soul, your sense of your self-respect. You don't need somebody else to do that for you. You shouldn't have somebody else do that for you. Again, as I said to you, my heart breaks. But I'm hoping that while this may be very difficult, believe me, it was difficult for me. I've been thinking about this for several months. And there have been times, even yesterday, as I was sitting there writing my note, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to do this. And I was like, no, I have to do this. I have to do it. Because you don't deserve this any longer. You don't deserve to live like this. You deserve to be free. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to have joy in your life. So I hope that you go after it. And Tammy, that's all I got for you today.
So thank you. I know it was tough and you were, struggling with whether to do this. This is exactly how I feel too, because I feel like the addict's behavior steals all the joy and steals all the focus. Like everybody's attention gets focused on this and losing every other aspect of life. I love the client story that you shared about the boat, reclaiming resilience, not being a victim to the addiction, to the addict's behaviors. I know lots of partners who have a life. They've remained in a relationship with somebody who's continuing to act out, and they have such good support that behavior, is problematic for them, but it doesn't overwhelm and overtake their lives. And that's a very different place. I love what you're talking about with the grounding. Sometimes I just need to think of my feet are on the ground. I need to, take it in a deep breath and balance my shoulders, whatever I need to do. But if I'm intentional about that, I've seen people that are, so if you have questions, throw them in the Q&A. So if
you do that though, Tammy, don't you? You do a lot of self-soothing and meditation and all that kind of stuff.
I'm very intentional when I do. Like the background is from when I was out for a run, and I am paying attention while I'm out running, and I'm looking for things to see. I'm not just going through the motions. So it's one of those, I have to be intentional. And I go, wow, thank you for an amazing sunrise, and that's gratitude. I really appreciated too that finding the little like even if it's just a little thing that the addict is doing that you're noticing, first of all, that's appreciated by the addict that it gets noticed. But second of all, it changes your framework. It isn't, he's still doing everything wrong. You're going, he's making little progress, and it starts shifting the lens that you see each other, and you start seeing that the gap is coming together. I think it gives both of you hope that there could be a possibility, for doing things differently. But yeah, I get troubled when there is a power up, power down position of like, you're the betrayer, you're the offender, and I'm the victim. And like, then there's never the equal partnership to be able to move forward in a different way. So,
Yeah.
so I love having tools for partners, to help them, to have resiliency. But I have seen people who are in, like you're right, there's zero, they can't even hear, like deer in the headlights, there's no comprehension. It's so in the emotion, it's so in the reaction. So to be able to intentionally choose my actions instead of just react. Yeah, I always think of like the pinball machine where, it's just going, willy-nilly. I don't want to be that. I want to, I'm a control freak. I want to have some control over things. Well, I can control my actions and reactions. That's all,
Right.
So if I can, but I have to be able to think about it, not react to it. So,
Right. But you got to remember, with trauma, many times we're given the sense that we can't control it.
right.
We can't do this. And I'm gonna go way out on a limb here with this. Like I said, I've seen nothing on this topic. That's just mind-boggling to me. Mind-boggling to me. Okay, that all the programs that are out there to help women heal. How come nobody talking about this? Why are we not showing them how they can take back control of your life? I don't understand. I'm at a loss for this. So anyway,
Well, now you've created something. So this will, and somebody asked, will this be updated? Yes, it will be uploaded to sexandrelationshiphealing.com. Under the resource tab, you'll see previously recorded webinars, and probably yet today, this will be added to that. And then you can also search through our YouTube at the bottom of that page. You'll see all of them. And I would invite you to do that. So yes, probably later today. So we've got some questions. So if you've got questions, throw them in the Q&A and we'll work through them. So my
okay.
porn addicted husband is currently working on his disclosure. Due to childhood trauma, he blocks all negative things from his mind. How can I get a full disclosure when he doesn't remember everything he has done to me? He thinks he remembers cheating on me early on in our relationship, but he isn't sure if he was with me or a previous partner. How can I get closure when I don't know what has happened behind my back?
Right. That's a good question. And hopefully he's working with a counselor. He's working with a certified counselor who can help him with that. He can help him, process and deal with those traumas. And as he deals with those, and once he starts writing out that disclosure, it's very interesting how more and more things come back. Okay, once you start putting it down in paper versus sitting there and trying to verbally communicate it. So there's two things I would do. One, if you're working with a counselor, they should be working on those childhood traumas so that they can become unblocked. You need to develop those new neural pathways so we can get that out. And once that happens, he may see, and in fact, I know he will, he'll see that more and more things start to flow. So that's what has to happen in that case, which means that you may have to push your disclosure back a bit while he does that. But I would think it would be beneficial because, again, what you're hoping for is that you get all that information.
Yeah, and like in our treatment program, the guys do a timeline, and it's often interesting that when they're sharing their timeline, they'll have left out something. Like, this is in our treatment program, and then the other guys or the clinical staff will say, "Hey, I noticed you shared something in a group, and you didn't add that to your timeline," so they have to go back and add it to their
Right.
timeline. Now, that timeline does not translate, directly to the disclosure, because the disclosure is the compilation of those things. So, and at some point, yes, you want the details. You don't want all the gory details. And at some point, it was bad. He betrayed you. And so having things in a, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, they wanted every little thing. And and the person was not able to do that yet. But if you kind of go, it was bad, what
Right.
is he doing now? Like, Eddie was talking about, are you starting to see that he's doing things differently? That can give you hope, even if there's a few gaps. If it's, I mean, we always tell everybody, be truthful, don't lie, don't
Right.
intentionally omit something. So Eddie's suggestion of working with a qualified therapist, both of you, so that you've got the support to do this well one time, not the
Correct.
revolving door of disclosures, which
Right. Make sure
sucks
to
for
make sure
everybody.
that therapist has done disclosure before. Okay, that's important. And again, he may not remember all the detail. What's important is that he is not omitting anything intentionally. And
Right, right.
that's one of the questions that will be asked when you do a polygraph. Have you everything that you put in here is true, and have you intentionally omitted anything?
And I'm going to step in here because I got like that. Like the Polygraph Society is saying that question is unethical. So I know there's a lot of therapists that use polygraphs.
Mhm.
There's pros and cons. So
All right,
pick
there are.
carefully. Yeah.
All right.
It's a 50-50 shot as to whether they're truthful. So I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So pick
But that's
carefully.
also, I think, Tammy, with that, is you got to make sure that the person who's doing the polygraph is someone who does polygraphs and have worked with the population.
Yes, but
Okay,
that
because
question per the Polygraph Association is, they're saying it's unethical to ask that. So,
uh,
so more will be revealed, but just be
okay,
careful. And if you're basing your whole relationship on a polygraph answer,
yeah,
like that'd be
sure,
challenging. So
right, right,
get qualified help is the whole point. So,
no.
okay. Next question. What are some of the best this is a great question. What are some of the best self-soothing strategies you would advise the trade partner to try?
What would you say, Tammy, again, from a
I,
self-soothing?
yeah, I mean,
We talked
there's,
about some
yeah,
before.
yeah, there's a Calm app, like I know lots of
Yes.
people who, it's an app, like thank goodness I don't even have to think about it. I can poof, but for me, being outside is very helpful. Like if I just extricate myself from a situation and go out for a walk, I'm probably going to calm down and be better. And I think part of it is the motion. But grounding, like I said, if I plant my feet and I pay attention, my feet are planted, I'm taking in a deep breath, I'm being mindful, like Eddie talked about, what am I smelling?
Right.
Close my eyes, I don't even have to see. What am I hearing? All of those things. I'm going to come back to my thinking brain,
Yep.
as I'm paying attention and just, simmering down.
All right.
So
That walking thing is a great idea. I know many women, that's what they do. They say, I leave the house. I leave the house. I leave because again, the house can be triggering also. I leave and I just go walk and I just breathe and I focus. I feel whether it's the wind on my face or the sun on my face or whatever. Again, get in touch with all the different senses that you have. Those are really important. But the Calm act is a very good one. That's a great idea.
yeah, and there's other apps too that that where you can do a 10-minute mindfulness thing. And Eddie and I have talked before about the 4-7-8 breathing, and he told me it was actually the military, the SEALs, wasn't it?
Yeah, Navy
The
SEALs.
Navy SEAls. And if I do that, that's 2 minutes. If I'm doing that for 2 minutes, it's amazing the transformation I have, in 2 minutes, which that's helpful to have it be
Mm,
fast. So
right.
hopefully those are helpful. So, okay,
Yes.
next question. I may be on the reverse side. D-Day was 8 years ago, and after D-Day, I focused primarily on me and trusted him to do the work. I didn't consistently check him. I went on with life and dealt with triggers on my own. 8 years later, he relapsed again into full behavior. I now wonder if I could have done more. Should I not have been more involved or more controlling? How does one find balance in this? I sometimes now wish I'd been more actively involved.
Well,
That's a great question
that is a
too.
great question. The balance comes in when we're doing those check-ins, during the course of the week, whether we're doing, once a week, twice a week, more time, we are constantly checking to see how is the other one doing. And that's a two-way street. So yeah, I am not advocating that, a woman buries her head in the sand and said, you go do your work and I'm gonna just do mine. I do think that it's important for her to understand, what are you learning? What are you learning? How are you changing? Now, again, It's not like she can't be his accountability partner. That's not what we're talking about. We don't want it to be overwhelming her, but for her to understand. So tell me about the changes that you are trying to make. How are you going to make them? What should I expect to see? Those are the things. That's why, again, that 8 years, should have been, finding out what is the game plan, working with his therapist. What is the game plan? Who's the new guy I'm going to see? Show him to me. And maybe what I'll do next time is I'll show the new guy comparison chart from the old
Oh,
guy
great
to the new
idea.
one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could show that so people could see what that is. But yes, there has to be a balance. I always lean more toward, asking those who've been betrayed, hey, how much involvement do you want? Okay, because I don't want to force it upon them. But in most cases, people do want to know what's happening.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, when people leave our treatment center, unless they've got little kids or kids at home, but we say post your weekly plan for what you're actively doing with your recovery on the fridge, so everybody sees it. So so there's accountability. Not that the partner has to police, like you said, but you go, oh, okay, at 10 a.m. he's going to be in his 12-step group. Great, I mean, so just so you know, but I bet there wasn't transparency along the way. I'm really hopeful. I'm glad you're here. I'm really hopeful that he is digging into his recovery now. If he hasn't already done so, we have the Sex Addiction 101 work group that starts again November 3rd. That's a 90-minute for 6 weeks online workshop, and it's live facilitated. And this is foundational pieces to make sure that he's got a good 3-circle plan. What is his plan, for moving forward? It's just really good foundational pieces. And if he gives well, I already did that stuff 8 years ago. It's back to the beginning. I said to somebody yesterday, do you know how many first step meetings I've been in, during my recovery? We're never like, oh, we're on, chapter 18. It's like, we still need to keep being reminded of, the very beginning stuff. So, and for you, there's a betrayed partner drop-in group today at 12:30 Pacific time on sexandrelationshiphealing.com, another tomorrow morning. So, I mean, there's more resources for you too. A reminder, if you've got questions, put them in the Q&A, please, and we'll keep going with that.
There's a couple in the chat, but
we're going to maybe get to those, but
let's hit John's question. Hit John's question first.
Okay. As my spouse embraces this new mindset, what can I do as the betrayer to support my spouse during my spouse's healing? Yeah.
I love
Thank you. That's the first thing you can do is ask.
Yeah. I mean, that John, that is great. That again, that outward, looking outward as opposed to inward, which is part of what you need to do. And yes, as Tammy said, what can I do? But it's also being very mindful. Tammy understood the thing when I talk about walk into the fire. Again, you might see that, oh, she's gone several days and everything's very calm, but under the surface, it's like this. And you need to go there to say, hey, tell me, not, hey, so how you doing? But hey, tell me what's been going on, as far as your emotions and your thoughts about what I've done. What has it been doing to you for the last several days? Because I know I haven't seen much in a reaction. And of course, we call it walking into the fire because you could get really burnt by it. But you need to just know you're not trying to brush it under the carpet. You're there to walk with her. You're there to learn to make sure you're validating emotion. As I said, stop trying to be defensive and explaining. Take those steps, and I think you'll be in a really good place.
And I would invite you to ask your spouse if you have these conversations, and it's okay to say, I want to be supportive and helpful. What will you find helpful? And what will you find not, and, for me, I mean, and I'm not in a betrayed situation, but like, sometimes my husband looks at me and he just knows I need a hug. Like, he's not trying to fix anything else. He just knows I need that physical hug. And he's right, and so, but that's because he's learned that, so I think you'll find that there are some things, and it's okay for her to say, not that one, but this one would be helpful
Right.
in the moment. So, but
Yep.
I'm glad you're asking us, ask your spouse. So,
Right.
okay. The next one is, love your message, Eddie. My relationship with God saved me, but after so much abandonment, I have been on my own from 15 years old. My dysfunctional family discarded me, abused by narcissistic partner, but after betrayed trauma, it really hit me. And now my belief is God did not want me. But God did not want me either. That's why he sent me to earth. He abandoned me also. Why didn't he keep me up there then? And I asked him, why did he make the human body brain so complicated? You almost have to have a degree to understand your own body and emotions.
Yeah, I am so sorry about what you've gone through. The abandonment is it's just a horrible feeling to have, to suffer multiple as you have. Um, it's just, as I said, it breaks my heart. However, let me tell you this: God has not abandoned you. He has not abandoned you. God is there weeping with you along the way. This is what has happened to you as the result of our fallen world. Okay, people have, they have the choice whether they can make good choices or bad choices. And you, unfortunately, have been surrounded by a lot of people who've made a lot of bad choices that have hurt you. But God is there for you. And, he wants you to have peace. And part of that peace is for you, again, to continue to work on your healing, as if what you learn as you move forward, right? Move forward in this life, that, the choices you make and the people you invite into your world are more safe people than not. But he has not left you. And as I said before, I do believe there's a special place for you in his world one day. I really do. Okay, you're not going to find anything in scripture that says that. That's just me and what I feel that goes on. So again, you know, please, please, please believe me when I tell you, he has not abandoned you. He loves you, and you are the princess of a king.
So the footprints in the sand, if you have not read that poem, I would invite you to read that. That was extremely comforting to me at many dark times. So that may be a resource for you as well. Okay, the next one appears to be more of a comment. I don't see a question, but I'll read it. My husband betrayed me with a small lie, although we had disclosure about 2 years ago where I stated I needed rigorous honesty. If he lies about small things, I cannot be positive or trust that he will be honest. In fact, he tried to gaslight me by saying, maybe I forgot he told me. I absolutely had no prior information that he was about to do something that I had boundaries around.
Okay, so let me say this. I just did a show. I was on I forgot. I do so many I can't even remember. But it was about lying. It was about lying and honesty. We all lie. Everyone lies. Okay. It may not be big lies, they could be small lies. I came back from a webinar from a men's retreat in California a couple weeks ago where I was out there to speak. And when I come home, my wife said, so how many guys were there? I said 75. It was 60. I do have 75. And not even thinking, just 75. Like, why in the world did you do that? Well, because it's more impressive, I guess. I guess that was the rationale for it. That's not what was going through my head, but it was. Okay. Most women lie because they don't want to hurt people's feelings. Okay. Men lie because they want to make more of themselves. Okay. He's gonna, those small little lies, they are going to come through. However, if when you talk my boundaries around this idea of absolutely complete 100 rigorous honesty, okay, you're asking for something that I don't think anybody's going to be able to deliver. But what you have to look at and see again is One, how often does something like this come up? And if it comes up sporadically, all right. Two, is it something that's not really not going to change your world or your lifestyle? Okay. And it's more about, so why do you think you did this? I think those are more of the conversations you want to have. And now I understand where you're coming from. Well, if he's lying about the little things, how do I know he's not lying about the big thing? I get it. But again, if it's not that pattern and you're seeing just sporadically, then I'm saying he's not doing that. That's just the normal course of our everyday lives and who we are. So again, I would, again, even the idea about gaslighting, saying that maybe, I forgot, maybe you forgot that, you told him. Maybe you did forget. I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
Oh,
if he didn't do that, he should have just came out and admitted, yes, I messed up. I'm sorry, and let's move on.
okay. Next question. The hardest part for me is letting go of the outcome. Welcome to my control freak world. Is there a way? Is this is where I get stuck? Currently, my SA husband and I are together, and I'm doing all that I can to heal myself and stay committed to the marriage. However, my SA husband keeps saying he doesn't really know if he wants to be committed to the marriage. He may leave or he may not. He doesn't know what he wants. How can I keep moving forward if I am with someone who is not able to stay present in the moment and have a common goal of either giving this a try or not? He is either in the past regretting or in the future thinking, could another marriage be better, or am I better off alone? I am finding this really affecting how I respond to him and also how I move on just for myself. How could it not?
Right. No, Tammy just took the words out of my mouth.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. It is. How could it not? It's like, how do I keep moving forward? End the sentence right there. Move forward with your growth, with your development. Move forward there, because you know what? It may come to a point where you're the one who says, hey, you know what? I don't need to be with somebody who can't commit to me. Who can't commit to me? I don't need you. Okay. And again, I'm not a big divorce guy. I don't really advocate, but in some cases, if he's sitting there waffling like that, right now, that is not your problem. Okay. I understand it impacts you, but that's his issue. You have to focus on you. What can I do to be stronger? What can I do to be more assertive? What can I do to say, hey, you know what? What do I want in my life? And be focused there.
Yeah. And yeah, I would advocate healthy boundaries for you. And, if he's not willing to step into the space, if he hasn't read Out of the Doghouse yet, I highly encourage that, because Dr. Rob is really clear. Here's what you do if you want to repair the relationship and move forward. If you don't, that's absolutely your choice, but you can't do both. And he's trying to do both. It's like, I want to be in the relationship. No, I don't. Oh, the grass is greener on the other side.
Right.
I might be better off with somebody else. That's not what a relationship is. That isn't commitment. So
no.
Yeah. So out of the doghouse, but clear boundaries for you and your safety, because this is unsafe. This is emotionally unsafe, but it's crazy making. Not that you're crazy, it's crazy making.
Right.
Okay. Next question. Do you know a way to teach active listening to my SA, the beginning of my problem with him?
Well, I do, but I'll never be able to do it in less than a minute.
Yeah.
Yes, they're active listening. I mean, you need to, one, if he's really that bad with it, you should be going to a coach who can teach him how to, how to communicate better in relationship. You need to do that relationship communication. I mean, even just reading a book alone is not enough. I mean, you can get some insights and such, but you need to be able to go somewhere where somebody will say, all right, let's role play now of what goes on. So that's what I mean. I look for a coach, because I don't think you need to go to a counselor to do it. There are good communication coaches who specialize in relationship. So that's where I'd love. And let Tammy, you have some resources that.
Well, I'm, Imago can be very helpful. I'm sure there's YouTubes on that or whatever, but it's looking at each other. And Eddie, what I heard you say is, and it's that repeat, and that's a really easy place to start. But I do agree, if that's because it says that the beginning of my problem with him, well, getting to the core of things, that can be a good
Right.
good idea. So
I did want
I
to
get it.
respond real fast before we leave to Gary. Gary's saying I have a 40-year porn problem. And I'm in 1 year recovery, and my wife wants me to stop using porn. And if I slip, which means if you relapse, she wants me to report to her that. Yes, you could tell her that you did it. You should tell her you do it. Most people have that kind of agreement within 12 hours, 24 hours. You do, but you also need to be talking to somebody else, accountability partner, and you need to talk to somebody about why. Why is it that you still struggle after all these years? Why did porn have a stronghold on your life?
And for that, it's like, I had a slip, and here's what I'm doing to prevent the next one. So, but a 40-year, I mean, we talk about this all the time. The 40 years of porn, that's the symptom. What is going on underneath? And if you aren't addressing that, that's the problem. So
why?
Yeah,
why question.
Yes, working with if you're just going to 12-step, consider getting a really qualified therapist. If you're just seeing a therapist, 15 minutes a week isn't enough. You need a whole plan. That's a long time of those behaviors. So,
and if you reach out to me, Gary, I can give you a referral to someone who does the inner child work, so that you'll be able to figure out why you do that. So.
Thank you, my friend. I will see you
next
month.
Thank you for
Good
being
job on a great topic. So
thank you for being supportive and being here and having my back as I was going through this today. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the comments. I'm sorry we didn't get to everybody, message, but we'll try to do it again next time. Okay.
Yes. Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Bye.